We could ask you to take your seats and have some of the speakers come up here behind the podium, please. Dan.
Yes, sir.
We're waiting for you.
I'm sitting. Hello, Mayor.
How you doing, Tia?
Good. How are you?
Welcome to Lake George.
It's beautiful.
Isn't it good,
I
huh?
was in charge of weather today.
Yeah, I am.
I called in some favors for Betty.
I am. Welcome everyone to Lake George on this beautiful day for a beautiful lady in one of the most beautiful places in the world. I'd like to ask you all to please stand for the singing of the national anthem by Leah Cardone, a graduating senior from the Lake George Central School.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now I ask that you join Father Joe Bush from our Sacred Heart Church in the invocation.
Let us pray. Lord Jesus Christ, our way, our truth, and our life, we ask your blessings now upon this road and to keep safe all who will travel on it. And we ask your blessings as well on Senator Elizabeth O'Connor Little, who has shown so many the way to the truth which may be only found in you. From Glens Falls to the counties of Clinton and Essex, Franklin, Hamilton, Warren, and Washington, and every road that leads to Albany, she has served with dedication, compassion, and care. Bless her for her work for the homeless and the poor, for those whom everyone else has forgotten, and indeed for everyone who ever reached out to her in this great North Country of ours. Reward her for her goodness, O merciful Lord, and grant her the peace of the just deep within her heart. For you are a God who loves us so much that you gave your life for us, And send us still in these days good leaders of deep faith, courage, and conviction, of service and dedication, on whom we also beg your blessings this day. You who live and reign in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
So this is indeed a special day, and we are so honored today to have with us, representing our governor and the great state of New York, our Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul.
Wow. What a spectacular day. I don't know if this is on. Anybody can tell me if this is on? Is that better? Is that better? Okay. Fabulous day. I could not wait for this event. It's been on my calendar since it was we first received the invitation, but this is magnificent. And to all of you who've been locals, who knew what this area was like, the quality of life, the natural beauty, this is truly God's country, as well as the many people who rediscovered this during a pandemic. This is a place with an amazing history, a great story, and some of the finest elected officials known to man or woman. And I'm talking about our own beloved Senator Betty Little. I first met her when I was a brand new rookie lieutenant governor. I'd barely been on the job, but I got invited to something called the Adirondack Challenge, where the governor wanted to promote how exciting the North Country is and make sure everybody in New York knew where it was. Invited legislators, invited people from the 5 boroughs of Manhattan to discover the joys of the North Country and to stimulate the local economy. Betty Little and I hit it off right away, but one thing I learned about her, she is fiercely competitive. Okay, don't be misled. I mean, you know, petite, always has a nice smile, looks like friendly, she's got some grandkids. Like, oh, no. You do not want to compete against her, whether it's in skiing. She taught me how to snowmobile. My first time snowmobiling, he's like, come on, you can do this, come on. And even in the summertime, when you're rafting, she's incredible. She's a powerhouse. And so I admire that spirit. I admire that spirit tremendously, and perhaps that's why she was able to survive 34 years in this position in a fairly male-dominated world, a little rough and tumble, but also she's got the heart of a lioness. And when she wants something for her district, she made sure everybody in our state capital knew what it was, and she was going to get it. She was going to deliver for the people of the communities that she loves so much. So I have been a public servant, not as long, but getting up there, Betty. I might go for your record someday. But I also know that it takes a special kind of person to continue with the focus on doing what's right. And many times that brought her to work across the aisle. She did a wonderful job in terms of commissions that she served on. We served as the members of the centennial, of the women's suffrage centennial. She wanted to celebrate the home of Susan B. Anthony in her district. That took her to Waterloo in the Finger Lakes. It even took her to Manhattan as we celebrated, lit up lights all over the state to celebrate the 100th anniversary of women winning the right to vote. So she never let politics or party interfere with her ability to get the job done and to represent the people, not just of her district, but truly the people of her state. And so I want to thank her for her service. Now she's a major representative on the ORDA board. We needed her voice there. And again, speaking of being competitive, Betty Little and I were sent up to Lake Placid a few years back. What purpose? To bring home the World University Games to Lake Placid. And we looked at each other, I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to do it. And we're in competition with communities all over the world. But Betty and I had that secret formula. We just went on the charm offensive. Charm offensive. And she's a master at it. She can teach the master class on using charm to get her way. And we were successful. And we are so excited that she's going to continue using her talents to foster this incredible Olympic spirit we have here in the North Country, to draw people from all over the world to discover how magnificent this part of our state is. So I want to thank her for her friendship over the years. We have sat many times in diners in her district. solved all the problems of the world. Believe me, we know how to do this. And also just going through some of the factories and meeting women-owned business owners and people during the pandemic who were hit so hard, and how we could work together in a nonpartisan or bipartisan way to help lift people up and to give them a day like today, where if you're vaccinated, you can be maskless, we can start hugging again, and to finally get to that sense of normalcy that we cherish and perhaps for too long took for granted. To Senator Little, I also want to thank Mayor Blaze. 50 years this year, is that right? Do I have that right, Mayor? Do I have that right? 50 years, 50 years. Longest serving current mayor in the United States of America. So clearly, the people of this community know what quality representation looks and feels like, and I feel the feeling they'll let you go for another 50 if you're so desire, Mayor. So thank you for your service. I also developed a close friendship with Dan Hall, the Glen Falls mayor. We've been to many of the projects, the civic centers, and visiting places like Just Water, to promoting local businesses. Worked closely with our other elected officials at the county level, the state level, Senator Dan Steck, Assembly Member Matt Simpson. But you're always going to be held to one standard. Were they as good as Betty? Did they bring home the bacon like Betty did? Did they fight for the district like Betty did? So I would not want to be a successor to Betty Little in any capacity, because we're going to hold you to the Betty standard. And I know that we're calling this the very fancy name of Elizabeth Little Boulevard, but every time I come down this road, I'm just going to say I'm going to call it the Betty. And I'm going to say, let's meet at the park on the Betty. Let's take the shortcut down to the lake on the Betty. And I think that's going to make you feel closer to the true, genuine character she is, because she's real, she's down to earth, and she's someone that I will always continue to admire as not just a human being, but also as a consummate public service. Betty Little, my friend, thank you for your service. Thank you.
Okay, we're asking our Lieutenant Governor to join Betty in the unveiling of a plaque. So when anyone comes here to Lake George and sees the signs on both ends of the road, they'll be able to find out a little bit about why we did it. And the Superintendent of Public Works from Warren County, Kevin Hajo's here.
Right here, Mayor.
Okay, why don't you and Keith join them in unveiling the rock. You put the shroud there, you take it away. That lake is just as pristine as it will ever be, much because of what Betty did. So we have three folks here today representing our lakeside protectors. The first one to be introduced is Bruce Young, the chairman of our Lake George Park Commission.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. This is the first time I've ever had a lieutenant governor as a warm-up speaker. I think that's a great idea. Last time I spoke about Betty Little in public, I introduced her as Senator Stafford. And I hope that I won't make that mistake today. I don't think anybody will make that mistake anymore. Of course, she, in her infinite wisdom, updid it once better the next week when she was at a function in Plattsburgh. And she referred to Governor Cuomo as Governor-Protect. So I think that trumps what I don't think anyone can say enough this morning about how much Betty has meant to Lake George. She's the engine behind the sea many of our stellar projects, such as the boat inspection program and the milfoil program, would not have gotten off the ground without her efforts and that they received money for it. But more than just her obtaining money for it, Betty worked behind the scenes probably more than she did in the public. She has the ability to cross the aisle and get things done when they need to be done. Just for an instance, a few years ago, DEC was thinking about doing away with trash pickup on Lake Glens. I know you might find that was impossible if they could see, but they thought it was money saving. And Betty immediately called a public hearing, and we got the voice of our opinions, and it didn't happen. And I don't know how many times we said, pardon, we're having a problem communicating, so to speak, with someone in Albany and the office on the second floor. Obvious answer came, call Betty. Call Betty was, I don't think, probably anybody here knows it. When you're faced with a problem in dealing with the state, you call Betty. And she got it taken care of. So I think that as Bob said, this is supposed to be brief, and I will be brief. Thank you very much, Betty, for all you've done for Lake George. Without you, I don't think it would be as beautiful as it is. Thank you very much.
The Executive Director of the Lake George Land Conservancy, Jamie Brown. You see Jamie here somewhere? There he comes. All dressed up, I didn't recognize him.
Thank you, Mayor Blaze. I think it's very appropriate that today we honor the senator here with Lake George in the background. The senator has done so much for Lake George. And here in this park, which really is a representation of so much cooperation and so many people working together, cooperation being what Senator Little is all about. I got to get to know the senator for a short period of time in your illustrious career. And I was really just blessed to have been able to see some of the accomplishments of what the senator has done. But I think, frankly, I'm more impressed with how you've been able to do this. The way that you work with people, the respect that you show people. It's really amazing to see these amazing results and the way that the senator works with so many different people to accomplish all these great things. As you all know, I mean, the senator has been a real champion for Lake George and also to the environment, but in a way that really balances it with economic development, which is really not an easy thing to do, but she does it very well. As we know, the positive legacy of Senator Little is going to be felt for a long time. She's enacted so many bills, so many policies that generations to come are going to feel in a really great way. She's brought so much funding here that will help to protect land, the lake, it'll create jobs and build infrastructure. We're so grateful for that. Thank you. And as impressive as that record is, which is obviously very impressive, the other thing that she's going to leave a legacy of is the idea of being a real leader, of showing cooperation, of reaching across the aisle. It's something that, frankly, isn't done that much today. And we are really incredibly fortunate to have had such a leader here in our community. I think that probably is going to be a most enduring legacy of Senator Little, is her strong character, her ability to lead, to be there for us. And when I say be there, you go and talk to her, she has time for you, and she'll talk to you. She'll listen. I don't think I've ever experienced that with anybody. Not even that, forget politicians, just regular people. So I think that's something that we can be so grateful for, and it's just something that we may not see again, although maybe Dan, I don't know, perhaps. But seriously, we are so grateful for all that Senator Little has done for the community and for all of us. Thank you so much, Senator Little. Thank you so much.
This was indeed a great year for Lake George in many ways, and one that I know all of us here appreciated so much. The fact that the two great lake-saving organizations, the Fund for Lake George and the Lake George Association, under the leadership of Peter Menzies and Jeff Colleen, got together and formed one organization for perpetuity. That was a great achievement. It was something that was been needed for many, many years. And one of the key players in that was our next speaker, the president, or be the new president of the Lake George Association, Jeff Colleen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for being here. For Betty. And Betty, good morning. I hate having my back to you, so I'm going to spin around a little bit here. Betty, we're here today to celebrate your remarkable career, your remarkable life, your remarkable leadership, and your very special remarkableness as a person. There you are. Okay, even better. Even better. Betty's career, as I think we all know, has hit every note, literally pitch perfect, in a harmony of accomplishment, character, and service. Teacher, supervisor, assemblywoman, senator, partner, mom, grandmother, and always confidant, mentor, and friend. And Betty, if I can, and I did not ask permission to do this, I'd like to share two very quick stories that mean a lot to me about you. The first goes back about 10 years. When I was first asked to chair the Fund for Lake George, we were at Evie Muller's birthday party. I don't know if you remember this night. Sitting at a table for four out on her big, beautiful porch, and the table was nestled in a corner, was kind of private. It was you, Jim, Judy, and myself. And on that night, you gave me some very straight shooter advice that I have never forgotten. You told me, get rid of the old strategies of the past on issues concerning the lake and focus on bringing us together, on building partnerships, and on balancing interests so that everyone can contribute and that we can win together. Focus on bringing people along. I took your advice deeply to heart that night, and you were kind of rough at the beginning. But I think the manifestation of that night 10 plus years ago is that we brought the LGA and the Fund together as one unified organization. And you've told me to focus on that as a goal. It took 10 years, but we got it done. So I'm eternally grateful for your advice that night on that subject and all the years that have followed on so many other things. My second story, and again, no permission asked, I think defines you as a person, Betty. As some of you here today know, every August I try to hold a big barbecue, big Philly Nun barbecue at my place on the lake. And I usually invite as many as I can fit in the front yard, 50 or 60, really to celebrate them and the partnerships we've created. And Betty, every year you call me and say, I'm only going to come if you let me bring dessert. And every year, Betty brings, for 60 people, the best homemade chocolate chip cookies you'll ever have. They're the best, they're the hit of the party, and that not so minor act of kindness exemplifies who you are and your genuine caring. So Betty, this year, sometime in August, we'll have the party, and I know the deal. So I think the chocolate chip cookies have got to come too. All right? So thank you. I'm going to close with sharing 9 lines from a Robert Frost poem that I think could well be a metaphor for the choices and outcomes that describe you, Betty. From Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry not to travel both and to be but one traveler, long I stood and looked down as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then I took the other, which was just as fair. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. Betty, you took the right road from the very beginning, and you stayed on a perfect, steadfast course, always focused on the right issues and on the right ideas. And now you have your own road. Elizabeth, Little Boulevard is symbolic of the many things that you have championed for New York State, the Adirondacks, and for Lake George. Local government cooperation, advancement of education, cultural affairs, healthcare, environmental conservation, and economic environmental balance, all accomplished by partnering and by bringing people together. So as Robert Frost said in his poem, I took the road less traveled, and that has made all the difference. Betty, the difference you have made is nothing short of monumental, and it will be everlasting. Betty, with great thanks and with great love, we honor you today.
Warren County has enjoyed some of the greatest economic growth in the last few years that we've seen in this part of the state. And much of it is because of the work done by our Warren County economic development people across this entire county. We're pleased and honored to have with us today James Ciplin, the president of the Warren County Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you, Mayor. I have to say it's a little off for me because this should be Ed that was here today to honor Betty. The two of them together did remarkable things. I know that Ed is here with us today, and I'm proud to try to carry on the legacy for Ed. I thought about how I met Betty, and it was through Ed. It was a cold day. It was as far removed from today as you could possibly be. It was January of 2014. I think it was 22 degrees below zero. And I was ushered into a room at the Queensberry Hotel by this very strong-willed man named Ed Bartholomew. He said, there's a few people I want you to meet as you explore this company you might want to bring here, Just Water. And there was Betty Little. And from that day forward, I realized this is a place where we need to be. Literally, from the moment that I met her, I understood the specialness of this place, and I understood it was no accident. There was a who's who of this area in that room that day, but my most lasting memory was of Ed introducing me to Betty and me realizing this is where we belonged. Now, I'm in a new role now. I don't lead Just Water anymore. I'm hoping to try to carry on the legacy of Ed at the Economic Development Corporation, but I'm also trying to honor the legacy of somebody like Betty, who always put this place first, who always knew that this place is special. It doesn't go like this everywhere else. I've lived in more than 15 places all over the world. This is now what I call home. That's because of the values of Betty, the things that Betty represents, the things that she shows us. It's fitting that we honor her. You know that she's selfless. You know what remarkable service she has given. She is universally liked and admired. All of those things you know. But future generations, they depend on more than that. The legend of this road will be a perfect personification of Betty Little. Not only because it's a connector. I mean, she was literally the best connector, still is. long, not so long, but even after she's no longer serving in an official capacity, if you want to get something done, one of the first questions any of us ask is, have you talked to Betty? What a compliment that is. You need no office to be the person that we all look to. So proud to have you here. It's also going to be a pathway for everyone that comes. People who are from here, people who move here, people who visit here. They will all walk down this road in a way that honors the nature of the way that Betty worked with people. Everyone was welcomed. Everyone was part of the solution. Everyone mattered. If we follow this road in the same way that we have followed Betty, we will see the same thing every time. We will go from a place up here that's very well traveled to a place over here that is more beautiful than we could have ever imagined. And it will be the perfect metaphor of what Betty Little has brought to our community, and it will be a standing legacy that we will be proud to show our children and our grandchildren years from now, that says this is the way we do it here. This is the kind of person we wish we could all be. Thank you, Betty.
We are so proud these past few years to watch the growth and the revitalization of our city, Glens Falls. Much of the revitalization and the rejuvenation of the downtown area and everything that's occurred in Glens Falls, much took place during Betty's tenure. And I'm sure she had a hand in much of it. And we're honored today to have with us the mayor of the city of Glens Falls, my friend Dan Hall.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about a Glens Falls girl, Betty Little. I want to thank all of you that have allowed me to speak. I first met Betty about 25 years ago when we both served on the Warren County Board of Supervisors before she left to become the assembly person for this district. And she's always worked hard for Glens Falls, always worked hard for the whole area, and we really, really appreciate everything she's done. She, as I say, she really is a Glens Falls girl as far as we are concerned. She grew up, has lived in Queensbury for a long time, but her roots were Glens Falls, her family's roots were Glens Falls. So when Glens Falls High School makes it to the state championship, Federation Championship at the Glens Falls Civic Center, who's at center court next to Jim Boeheim, rubbing elbows, talking in his ear about how if she coached against him, she could beat that 2-3 zone, no problem. Betty is a St. Mary's graduate and a lifelong resident of this area, and we greatly appreciate what her lengthy service in government has done for the greater Glens Falls community. So my favorite Betty Little story is when I went to the Christmas breakfast at the Methodist Church in Glens Falls. This is a couple of years ago. So Betty says to me, she goes, the city looks so great. It was when we had the lights on and there was snow and it was just gorgeous. And she said, things are really good in Glens Falls. But you know what my dream job would be? I said, no, what is that, Betty? She goes, to be the mayor of Glens Falls. So with that, I want to thank her for everything she does for the city and have a great retirement. And this is a great honor to have this street named after you, believe me. Thank you, Betty.
This particular street happens to be, in Boulevard, happens to be in the town of Lake George. The village of Lake George is right across that brook, and we keep watching each other all the time. But today, our supervisor, Dennis Dickinson, could not be with us, and he selected Councilwoman Nancy Standard to represent the town of Lake George. Nancy?
Well, Welcome, everybody. I am very privileged and honored today to be able to speak about my old friend, Betty Little. I'm here to represent the town of Lake George and also as a friend. I've known Betty for many years, beginning when I coached her daughter, Carolyn, in softball. We became friends at that point, and our friendship has grown ever since. When I entered the world of politics, unbeknownst to myself, in 2013, Betty supported me in my race for town council person. She has done so much for the town of Lake George and the North Country, as everyone has spoken about today. Betty was instrumental in helping us get money for the Gateway project, which starts right where we are here. We will miss you, Betty, and we will miss your many years of service to our people and our constituents. We wish you happiness and your well-deserved retirement. So if you would please come up here for a minute. The town has a special little gift for you. This can go anywhere for you. This is not going on the Boulevard, but it gives me great pleasure to present this sign to Betty, renaming Westbrook Road to the Betty Little Boulevard.
Everything in this world today begins as an idea, and some of the mayor's ideas are not always good ones. But this road belongs to Warren County, so the mayor had to go to Warren County with the idea to rename this road. If you've ever been to Warren County, you'll probably realize that it has to go through 17 committees, 4 chair people, a county attorney, perhaps the treasurer, and then maybe even the sheriff tries to get in on it. But this didn't take long. This only took about 5 minutes. So we now have with us today the newly elected chairwoman of Warren County, Rachel Sieber.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask those members that are with us here today from the Board of Supervisors to please come up and join me in expressing our thanks to you, Senator Little. They like it a lot when I do this. Senator Little, there is no doubt that it takes a woman like you to have all of us here today on a beautiful afternoon to express our appreciation in one united voice as a team representing Warren County of our 65,000 our constituents, our residents in this beautiful location, to say to you from the bottom of our hearts how grateful we are for you, for everything you have done. Now, Mayor Hall calls you a Glens Falls girl. I'm always going to call you a Queensbury girl. We are so grateful, not only in Queensbury, but in Warren County, for your representation on the board. I don't know if you knew it when you ran for office, but the path that you would lead for women to also serve in office. And as the first elected chairwoman of the board, I am personally grateful for all of your hard-fought battles, your advocacy, and your advice and friendship to me. But as a board, we stand here incredibly grateful for everything you have done on behalf of every resident in Warren County. At this point in time, I would also like to ask our County Administrator, Ryan Moore, to please come up. I know I saw him. There he is. Because without our County Administrator, we are not as strong as a team and we are very grateful for all the hard work he has provided and worked with you over a year going into what none of us ever expected to have, which was a pandemic. So collectively, we've heard today about your efforts of teamwork, your commitment from the Lieutenant Governor today talking about how you encouraged everyone to come along, to learn new things, to get along. And we all, I'm sure, pledge to do exactly that, not only in your honor, but as an example that you have set for all of us. At this point in time, Administrator Moore.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'll be brief. This is my 20th year in state and local politics, and I've known Betty for all 20 of them. Betty, you're one of my favorite people I've ever worked with in state and local politics. As anybody knows, whether you're involved or whether you're an observer, qualities that are often praised in government and in politics are combativeness, ego, self-centeredness, your ability to land a blow. None of those are the qualities that describe Betty Little. Betty Little is kind. She's fair. She's respectful. She's good. She's the type of person that we all aspire to be, that we all aspire to raise our children to be. And it's fitting that we gather in a spot, especially at the other end of this road, that is so beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful spots in Warren County. And it's fitting that this spot is in honor of the beautiful example that Betty Little has set for all of us. My daughter Madison is here today. She's 24 days old. She's right down at the end of that road. And I hope that Madison and her generation and her children's generation and her grandchildren's generation will come to this spot and will ask, who is Betty Little? And when they find out, that they will too be inspired to follow the path that Betty has followed and the example that she has laid out to all of us. America needs more Betty Littles, and may this spot be a source of inspiration for those individuals. Thank you for everything.
They all voted yes. We're very pleased that unexpectedly, according to the program, we didn't think that our new representative assemblyman could make it today, but he's here. And I want to introduce you to Matt Simpson, our assemblyman from the 114th District.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for joining us all on this beautiful day to celebrate the public service of a beautiful woman, a friend of all of us. You know, I met Betty many years ago when I first became involved in my community in the town of Horican. And as I gradually became more involved in county issues and Adirondack issues, I became even closer to Betty in her office and needing her assistance. There were many times when, you know, across the Adirondacks we would have a major issue that we would try to solve within all of our groups. And you can imagine with the diversity in the Adirondacks, that can be very difficult to attain at times. But we would always reach out to Betty because I can tell you when we arrange a meeting and it's in Betty's office, whether it's in Albany or in Glens Falls, all of a sudden everybody becomes just focused on the issue, and just her presence would bring the best out of all of us. And I will always remember that, how our issues would come to a good ending, a good focus, a good path forward after meeting with Betty. But, you know, she's got a long list of accomplishments and very wide-reaching. And as I travel out through the district and I visit with people throughout the 114th, I'm amazed how many people will pull me aside and tell me about Betty Little story. Whether she reached out to them personally and took a hands-on approach to that issue, called her back. It's just an amazing experience to be in the farthest reaches. And I can't even imagine the district that she represented, how many people she has helped. And we'll always be forever grateful for that. She's been a real mentor to me. Her leadership has been based in decency, honor, and respect, and I will always value that experience with you. I want to thank you on behalf of everyone here, all of our constituents, for everything that you have done for us. And most of all, thank you for your friendship.
You've heard from several speakers telling us how difficult it's going to be for someone to step into Betty Little's shoes, and they're absolutely correct. And as I'm looking at the size of your feet, Betty, this gentleman, he can step into probably both of your shoes, figuratively. We're fortunate that our district did find someone that we feel confident will follow in Betty's footsteps and emulate many of the good things and good personality, good demeanor, good working with all of our communities that Betty had all through these years. And we're privileged to have him here with us today, our Senator from the 45th District, Dan Stecker.
Thanks, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. I had to tell you, sitting here and listening to everyone speak in front of me, and I'm inspired, but I also feel a little pressure to add something a little different, a little new. And I got to tell you, I'm glad that the Lieutenant Governor touched on it, but because one of the points I like to make is that I've known Betty Little since I was a kid. So first and foremost, my wife and my mom and dad give their best, Betty, and they're thrilled for you and thankful for your work of service here to our community all these years. But I also grew up, spent a lot of time in Lake George Village with close family friends, and Bob Blaze has known me, I think, my entire life. So two finer public servants you'll never find than Mayor Blaze and Senator Betty Little, and it's a privilege to be associated with both of them. Now, I listened to a few people, and Mayor Hall told a brief story, and you know, stories are usually appropriate for stuff like this, and so there's a couple of Betty Little stories I like, and there's a couple of Dan Steck short stories that I know Betty likes. But real briefly, Betty likes to tell people that she remembers me playing Little League with her sons, kicking holes of dirt in the outfield. I guess I was that kind of ball player. One of the things that I'll remember, and I've told Betty this a couple times, but I want to share this with everybody. One of the most meaningful things that I'll never forget was the day after I was elected to the Senate. Betty called me to talk about business. She was still working. But she called, and I had an idea that, you know, what the subject was. Wasn't expecting a congratulatory call because I'd already heard from her. But she called, and I answered myself when I saw the caller ID, and I said, "Hey, Betty, how are you?" And the next word sent chills up my spine, and I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Betty said to me, "Hello, Senator." And it meant, you know, a world to me, and I'm mindful of that. 18 years as our senator, and it's been a privilege to work with her, and I am deeply honored and never forgetful that I am her successor. So that phone call meant a lot. The other funny thing that Betty said to me once about 8-9 years ago when I was just getting started in the assembly, and it's so true. I just got back from Malone the other day and running back and forth to Plattsburgh a lot. She said, "You know, it's weird, when I get to exit 30, I feel like I'm almost in my driveway." And that's true. But my maybe least favorite story that we share, which sadly I think is the senator's favorite story, was she knows what I'm going to say. So my first event speaking together with the senator when I was elected to the assembly was in Plattsburgh, and she was a few minutes late for the event, and I was already seated. So she came in the back and she sat in the back of the audience, and it was my turn to speak, and I got up, and I used to have a reputation. A lot of my former Warren County colleagues will know this is true. I used to have a reputation for being a little long-winded. And so Betty's sitting in the back, and apparently I was having one of those days. And all of a sudden, I was getting this from the senator. So now and it worked, and I got the hint, and I tightened it up ever since. And I'll try to tighten it up now, but you know, certainly now sitting in the chamber and sitting in conference with a lot of Betty's former Senate colleagues, I can tell you, I knew this as an assembly member, but now sitting in the conference, how respected in all the capital, Senator Little is and still is, and missed. You know, again, everything that a public servant can and should be, I think Betty is. We're all a product of our environment and our upbringing, and I like to use an analogy of the toolbox. The tools that we bring to the job at hand to get it done, and certainly it always, what tools you're using depend on the time and the job. And so, growing up the son of a forest ranger, George taught me the axe. And then Betty's significant other, Betty's guy, Jim Neshaw, in addition to being my high school principal, he was also my mom's boss. The Queensbury School in Clarkson taught me the calculator. And then the Navy gave me the sledgehammer. But Betty Little gave me the scalpel and the stopwatch. And I tell you, I'll swing the sledgehammer and the axe as long as it's required, but I look forward to the days where I get to demonstrate a little bit more of the scalpel. And Lord knows I wish more of my colleagues were familiar with what a calculator was. But with that said, Betty, congratulations. This is very fitting. And God bless you. God bless your family. I know that you're enjoying them more, and I'm sure that they're thankful for that. But I'm just thankful that we've got a wonderful day for you. And again, it's truly an honor and a privilege to be your successor. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Betty Little.
Thank you. I just said to the mayor, this is unreal. So, thank you is such a small word compared to how I feel right now, but I have such gratitude for the mayor's idea. When he first called me, I said, what? Really? And I thought to myself, that's nothing I ever expected, to have a road named after me, because I thought Little was never anything you would name anything after, little this, little that. But the idea of having the O'Connor name as part of it was really important, and I appreciate that. When I first got to the assembly, the most asked question was, people would call and say, what is the OC in the middle of your name for? So we did get that O'Connor out. And I have to tell you, I'm thinking of two people today, my mom and dad, and how proud they would be, and how proud they would be of the fact that I'm joined today by my brother Michael, my sister Mary Lois, my sister Ruth, their children, nieces and nephews, and how fortunate we are. And here today with me is my partner Jim Neshaw, and his daughter Holly, and his son Skip. So truly, truly appreciate it, as well as all the friends and all of that. But I have one representative here. Well, first of all, my two children are here. The two that live locally, Elizabeth and David. So they represent all six. But I have one young lady that is here representing 17 other people, and that's my granddaughter, Josephine. So I have truly loved the job, and someone told me, is it a career or a job? I said, it's a job. That's the way I always looked at it. But I do miss, I know it was the right time, but I do miss the people and the involvement. So it's amazing. But everybody has to be really hot by now, but there's one person that I have to really point out, and I don't even know how to thank him enough. But Bob Blaze called me and said, this is what I'm thinking of doing. And as I said, really? You would do something like that? And he did, and he carried it out and carried forth, and to have so many friends, so many elected, so many people that I have worked with and enjoyed their friendship. To have you here is so significant to me, and something I will never ever forget. And I just want to thank you. 3 of my former workers are also here. I need to mention Keith Shearer, Paul Maroon from Tupper Lake, and Sharon Henderson. So I didn't see anyone else, and if I did miss them, I'm sorry. But thank you. This is a day I'll never forget. Thank you very, very much. And what do we do for him after 50 years? We're going to have to name a whole town.
Thanks, Betty. Thank you very much. I'd like now Reverend Allie Trowbridge from the Caldwell Presbyterian Church to present our benediction.
Let us pray. O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, we praise you for Elizabeth O'Connor Little, Betty, for her leadership and dedication, which we honor here today. May this road that bears her name remind us and all who follow us of the precious values of our faith, to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with you. May this road rise to meet both local residents as well as visitors from around the world who come to take in the beauty and majesty of Lake George, your creation, with their own eyes. May each one be stirred by your spirit and Betty's legacy to take the road less traveled by and to make a difference, each in their own unique way. We thank you that our lives are richer, more lively, and hold greater possibility because of Betty's good works, which have touched and inspired us all. So send us now into this day with courage. May we hold to the good, honor all people, and rejoice in the power of your Spirit to be our guide on the road of life and our eternal home. Amen.
So as we leave here today, we're leaving a permanent tribute to our former supervisor, our assemblywoman, our senator, and our friend. I had that timed exactly right. It's only going to be a minute. This boulevard affords us with one of America's most beautiful views as you travel down this road. It's bordered by the village of Lake George, the town of Lake George. It's owned by Warren County, and there sits one of the most beautiful beaches owned by the state of New York. Each of those municipalities that Betty's participated in all of these years. There can be no better spot, there can be no better place, there can be no better woman. Leave today and come back forever on Betty's Boulevard. Thank you for coming.